Coming up on Look Today, well, a human rights task force is being developed in Saratoga Springs. I've got details. And a demonstration took place outside Congresswoman Elise Stefanik's office in Glens Falls. I've got some of those details. And we've got updates on the Saratoga City Charter Review process. It's all ahead on Look Today. Welcome everyone, I'm J. Hood Jackson and this is Look Today. Well, in tonight's program, I sit down with Wanda Birch. Now, she's a board member for the Creative Healing Connection, and she's here to talk about her experience battling breast cancer, as well as Breast Cancer Survivor Retreat that's happening this weekend. I also sit down with Jonathan Newell. He's the executive director of the Hudson River Music Hall. He's here to talk about updates on the Strand Theater. Plus, we got your weather for the Tri-North counties. But first, these headline stories. Well, in our lead story, Human Rights Task Force is being developed in the city of Saratoga Springs. And the goal of the task force is to empower, educate, and advocate for anyone in the city of Saratoga Springs. Now, according to the mayor of Saratoga, Joanne Yepsen, although recent events have expedited the process of creating this group, the group has been in the works for a while. Well, we spoke to the mayor about this.
To encourage the various groups and individuals who are become activated in recent months to all work together, because I think it's really important that we build a coalition of people with similar interests to foster a safe and inclusive city. And that is something that a lot of individuals and groups have been working toward, such as the Saratoga Unites group has a human rights subcommittee.
Now, there is a specific example of what I just mentioned, these recent events. A teacher at the Saratoga Springs High School presented a lecture on comparing today's political climate to the climate of the 1930s in Europe. And she used cartoons depicting political leaders. This caused an outcry by certain mothers of students saying that the teachers were indoctrinating the students. Well, we reached out to the high school for more information. However, they declined to comment. Way too much pressure on them. However, we did speak to the mayor of Saratoga about her reaction to this.
It's a personal opinion and it's how you want to raise your family, but I think the whole point of the education is to excite students and to get them thinking creatively and get them thinking independently. So hopefully all teachers in all classrooms throughout this country will point out lots of points of history that we can use to encourage debate and discussion for today's world.
Well said. And by the way, in the lookout tonight, I have a comment about this. All right, in other news, in protest of the Repeal and Replacement Health Care Act that is being voted on today in Congress, constituents of the 21st District protesting outside Congresswoman Elise Stefanik's office in Glens Falls. Now, we did send a reporter to the demonstration, happened later on in the afternoon, so we'll have some video on this and more information tomorrow. Switching from news to weather. Today brought some sunshine, but there's a chance of some snow. Yes, happy spring. Tomorrow, with a projected high that might even be close to 40 degrees. Crazy weather. Let's see how the week is shaping up. For a more detailed look at our weather, let's head to the Glens Falls Weather Center for a look at your first forecast.
Thank you, Jesse. As we jump into the first look forecast, continuing through the next 24 hours, the cold air hangs around, but eventually this next warm front also lifts our way. It'll start us off for the daytime tomorrow with some lighter snow, some sleet mixes in, and then that rain chance will really increase as we'll get temperatures back up well above freezing. But still for tonight, another chilly one on tap. 15 Burlington, 18 Albany, 28 Scranton, 30s and even above freezing temperatures as you head a little bit further to the south and west. And that's good news for us as all that warmer air will be eventually pushing in. Clouds also building in through the overnight. We're going to slip back down to a low of about 15 Still chilly out there, but the good news is temperatures actually come up before we wake up tomorrow into the mid-20s. So we'll see some early snow showers, perhaps a accumulation of an inch or so. Then everything changes over to all rain. We'll see highs about 39 to 41 across much of the Glens Falls area. Out the door tomorrow, as I mentioned, temperatures coming back up quickly even before we head out the door. 25 to 29 off those morning lows in the mid-teens. We'll see that light, slow sleet mixing in, overcast skies, and eventually everything winds up in the form of rainfall as we head through the afternoon. And we're going to continue to keep that chance of showers with us. Several systems will be pushing through over the next 5 days. Now, the good news is pretty much all of it will be in the form of rain. Could see a few early morning stray snow showers on Sunday and Monday mornings with temperatures back down the 20s. But eventually we'll see daytime highs coming up well into the 40s as we continue on through the rest of the week. But decent rain chances stick around through Tuesday. Well, that's it from the First Look Weather Center. Now let's get back to you, Jesse.
Thanks, Brad. All right, back to the news. We got updates on the Saratoga charter review process. Now, a public forum will be held next Wednesday at the Saratoga Springs Public Library. The meeting is open to public and will encourage questions, comments, and concerns regarding the proposed new charter. Well, we spoke to Barb Thomas. She's a member of the Charter Review Commission.
And so we want people to be excited about making a decision about the charter for the city of Saratoga Springs, which will be on the back of the ballot. I want to have people think, oh, when I go to vote, I'm not just going to vote for the mayor or the city commissioners, but that I'm going to make these decisions about what our city is going to be, or at least what our city's government is going to be like in the future.
Now, if the proposed charter is approved by voters in November, they moved that election date, the first election will be in 2019, and the newly elected officials will take office on January 1st, 2020. And by the way, we've been in contact with Joe Dalton, and he's going to be a guest on Beyond the Headlines. We're really trying to cover as many opinions on this charter review process as we can. Up next, I sit down with Wanda Birch. She's a board member for Creative Healing Connections. She's here to talk about her experience battling breast cancer, as well as Breast Cancer Survivor Retreat that's happening this weekend in Cambridge. Plus, I also sit down with Jonathan Newell. He's Executive Director of the Hudson River Music Hall. He's here to talk about all kinds of stuff, but mostly the updates on the Strand Theater. But first, if you see news happening, you want to share a story idea, how about join us for an interview? Then give us a call on the hotline. The number is 798-8000. Well, that's all the time we have for this edition of Look Today. Hey, anybody who watches this program knows that we don't editorialize, and we try real hard not to take sides. But you know, once in a while something happens that deserves a comment. Well, today's one of those days. It actually started yesterday and this morning when friends of mine were texting me to tell me about what appeared to be an indictment of a school teacher because of a lecture on political science. Well, in looking at the facts, I was stunned by the vile and inaccurate reporting of the situation. An organization called Conservative Chicks in Saratoga, in response to a lecture on world history in the high school, were quoted as saying it was an example of radical left-wing indoctrination, which has infested our local school system. Well, that's a pretty powerful accusation, so I looked into it. Here's what I found. Well, the class was about the current political climate and how it relates to similar events in history leading up to World War II in Europe. Now, part of it was about the part that media bias plays in influencing the masses. Political cartoons, some featuring world leaders, were used to stir the debate. The focus was not about any individual. It was about how the masses can be manipulated. Things like nationalism, obsession with national security, fake news, intolerance, obsession with crime and punishment all took stage in Europe at that time. Does any of that sound familiar to you? Well, don't these moms realize that their comments are exactly what this lecture is about? You don't like the comparisons to Europe in the 30s? Then you can look at our own country in the 1850s, when people in the North were vilified for protecting escaping slaves. Look what happened to this country in the 60s. You know, part of what makes our democracy great is debate and checks and balances, which, by the way, we're seeing being played out right now in our country. You know, ignorant people always make the most noise because they have nothing to back up their claims. As a matter of fact, you concerned chicks out there, you want a platform? Come on for an interview. I'd be happy to let you explain your position. And you know what? Maybe we can teach each other something about historical events and how they relate to today's political climate. Now, please go to our Facebook page. Let's get involved in this conversation. And that's all we've got for tonight. Tune in tomorrow night for the stories that matter to you. Good night, everyone.